So if you played Duel Links before, chances are you would have seen an interesting error message pop up during some of your duels. No, it's not a bug. Nor are you playing against a member of Anonymous who is hacking your account. You're actually being bent over by Konami, who is hitting you with another one of its fantastic intended features, known as missing timing. So to explain exactly what's happening, you first have to understand that there are two main types of timings in Yu-Gi-Oh! There is when and if. There is also then, but I'm going to treat this the same way Guzaburo treated his adopted son, and pretend it doesn't exist, as 99% of the time you won't come across this. If effects are basically effects that are going to occur if a requirement is met, go figure. And these effects will happen no matter what, and are unable to miss timing. A good example of this would be Thunder Dragon Roar. This card has the effect, if it is banished or sent from the field to the grave, you can special summon one Thunder Dragon monster from your deck. So no matter at what point this card is sent to the grave or banished, you'll always get the option to activate the effect. Now here is where the good old Konami game design team decided to make our lives a lot more painful. When effects are effects that can only occur when a requirement is met. Again, go figure. And at no other point can they occur. By the way, this only applies to non-mandatory effects, so effects where the player is given a choice. So for this to happen, when effects have to be the last thing to occur. So let's take a look at the most common offender in Duel Links. Gear Town. This card reads, when this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can special summon one Ancient Gear monster. A common way for this card to be destroyed would be to use Double Cyclone, which is a quick play spell that allows you to target one spell trap you control and one spell trap your opponent controls and destroy them both. Now let's imagine a pretty common scenario. Your opponent has a face-up Circle and a set navigation, and you have a Gear Town and a Cyclone. Your opponent activates navigation, and your big brain thinks, awesome, I'll just chain my Cyclone to his navigation to destroy both my Gear Town and the Circle, before it can banish anything. Congratulations, you just killed his Circle, but you missed timing. This is because the last thing to occur was not the destruction of your Gear Town. It was the navigation you decided to chain to. Had you done this before the navigation had activated, and not chained it to, your Gear Town would have worked. Let's try and simplify this example a bit more. Your opponent has a set navigation and normal summons Magician's Rod, activating its effect. Once again, your big brain decides for whatever reason you want to destroy that set navigation, so you activate your Cyclone, and chain it to his Magician's Rod effect, destroying your Gear Town, and destroying his navigation. Guess what? You pop your Gear Town, and his navigation. And then his Rod searches, meaning once again you missed timing, as the last thing to occur was his Rod searching, and not the destruction of the Gear Town. This means you are never given the option to special summon an Ancient Gear monster. Let's try another well-known offender, Yubel. This card is notorious for missing timing, as it is really easy to do. Let's say you have Yubel's second form on the board, Terror Incarnate, which is a card that when destroyed, has the effect, when it leaves the field, you can special summon Yubel's third form, the Ultimate Nightmare. Now you think yourself to be a completely big brain intellectual who comes up with all these new and unique deck ideas, and decide to spice up your Yubel deck with a really unique concept that nobody has ever done before, and you stuff an Alistair into your deck. So you have a Terror Incarnate on the board, and you normal summon Alistair, activating its effect. And in response, your opponent chains a Treacherous Trap Hole to destroy both your Alistair and your Yubel. And you think, fool! This will activate my Terror Incarnate's effect to summon the Ultimate Nightmare. Wrong. The Terror Incarnate just missed timing, as the last thing to happen was not it being destroyed, it was the Alistair Search effect it was chained to, meaning you will not be given the option to summon the third stage. And this can be done with all effects. Let's say you have Terror on the board, and you activate Cosmic Cyclone to remove your opponent's back row, and he chains Offerings to the Doomed in response, targeting your Yubel. Again, Yubel will miss timing, as the last thing to happen was the Cosmic Cyclone banishing. and not your bell being destroyed. Once again, not giving you the option to summon the third stage. Alright, I think you get the picture. When effects need to be the last thing to occur, and if effects can be used whenever. Don't worry if you mess these timings up, it's a pretty easy thing to forget or just to simply miss when reading over a card's text. I still do it all the time, and my stream chat always gives me shit for it. There is one other thing I would like to briefly cover in this video, and that is the mechanic known as chain blocking, as it kinda ties into the whole timing discussion. You may have heard of this before, or maybe you haven't, but there is a pretty good chance that you've at least experienced it. Chain blocking is where you activate cards in a specific order to make sure your opponent cannot chain effects to them that need to be chained directly. This is something you'll notice happen quite a lot with negate effects. For example, let's take Red Eyes / Dragon. This card, when targeted by an effect, can negate the effect by simply sending an equipped card you control to the graveyard. Now let's take one of the more recent additions to Duel Links, Lunalight Crimson Fox. This card, when sent to the grave by a card effect, can target a monster and reduce its attack to 0. So under normal circumstances, if you try to target Red Eyes with this thing, he will simply negate it. But now let's say you send Crimson Fox to the grave using Lunalight Fusion, along with another effect that activates when sent to the grave, such as Martin, who when sent to the grave will add a Lunalight spell to hand. If done in the right order, you will target his monster with Crimson, but then immediately afterwards use Martin's effect to search for a card. Red Eyes can no longer chain its negate to the targeting effect, as it needs to be activated when it has been targeted, and in this case, the only effect you can chain to would be Martin. So it has been successfully blocked and its attack would be reduced to 0. Let's try another example. Dark Cavalry is a pretty similar card to Red Eyes, in that it can negate targeting effects when they are activated. And for this example, I'm going to use one of the most notorious cards for chain blocking, Nemesis Warrior. So let's say your opponent has a Dark Cavalry on the board, and you have a set Uma. Now normally, when Uma flips up, you can target a monster and banish it. But since it's a targeting effect, Cavalry will probably just dab on it. But if you have a Nemesis Warrior in the grave, which can special summon itself whenever a Subterror is flipped face up, you can simply special summon it in response to your Uma, meaning once again a card like Cavalry which needs to negate when something is targeted can no longer chain, as it has been blocked by Nemesis Warrior. Now keep in mind when trying to chain block that chain blocking only affects cards that need to be activated in direct response. For example, negate effects like Divine Wrath, Blackbird Close, or Parshath are all effects that can be chain blocked. But negate effects like Chalice or Fiendish Chain that can target any monster at any time are unaffected by chain blocking. Alright guys, that's basically it for the toying part of the video. I'm sorry if it was a bit more boring than my usual content, but hopefully some of you might have learned something, especially if you are new to the game and are a bit more inexperienced when it comes to these kinds of interactions. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, comment if you have any questions or feedback, make sure to check out my Discord, Patreon and Twitch down below. And if you happen to have $1 lying around and wish to support me, feel free to click that join button down below to support me directly, as well as gain access to a few little neat perks.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.